What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the TF Movie Show. This is just a web series where we're talking about toys and collectibles that matter to me. This is episode number 49. And before I begin, I just want to do a couple of shout outs because these are really important for this episode. First, I want to say happy belated birthday to Retro, the retro nostalgic nerd. Happy belated birthday. I know I said happy birthday to you in a tweet, but I want to say happy belated birthday to you in this video because this video is dedicated to you because I freaking love all your posts on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. You know, I might not respond or comment on them all, but I really enjoy seeing them because it really takes me back in time to, of course, a really fun and awesome childhood. The 80s was awesome for music, movies, TV shows, cartoons, and of course the toys that came from those cartoons. So it really brings me back every time you post something, and I really love it. So keep up the good work, and once again, happy belated birthday. This episode is dedicated to you because this is all about nostalgia. Okay, so thanks so much. Next, I want to give a big shout out to JoeBot, aka TFJoeBot1 on Twitter, because you might not realize it, but you're the one that actually inspired me to make this episode because you put out a tweet with deluxe Insecticons on it, and then I was like, hey, I had this guy, but it was called something else. It was called a Beatgadol, and then it started from there. And then after I tweeted that reply to you, I thought to myself, hey, wouldn't it be cool to make an episode talking about the robot toys that I used to have, but I couldn't possibly remember all the different names of all these different Japanese robot toys that I used to have. Like, that would be impossible. So I had to do a lot of research, and eventually I was really stumped. I was stuck on a couple of items which I had no idea what they're called, but I just knew how to describe them because I still remember what they look like vividly. I just didn't know the name. So I want to give a big shout out to Otanami, Collectatron is loving CWS7, Maz at TF Square 1, Boops Me Boops, and also Jur2097. Thank you so much for seeing my tweets, retweeting them, and eventually responding to me with your vast knowledge, because you guys helped me point me in the right direction to find out what this product is. And because of that, now I'm able to complete this episode, and now here we go. Let's talk about, in no particular order, the Japanese robot toys that I had as a kid. So as you already know, and as you gather by now, I grew up in the 80s, all right? This is a really great time, obviously, because of things like G.I. Joe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, He-Man, Transformers, of course. And I want to give you a little bit of backstory, and that is, when I was a kid, there was me and my brother, of course, and but my dad went to Hong Kong occasionally, and he'd be gone for a long time, but whenever he came back, like, he did business or work there, but whenever he came back, he would bring back a luggage full of toys, and that was something that we would always be excited about because he'd open up the luggage and then we'd see a lot of robot toys. Now, he didn't know what all these robot toys were. They were just really miscellaneous. They weren't always Transformers. They were all kinds of robot toys. But he knew that we loved robots. I guess he saw us watching Transformers, so therefore he knew that he had to buy robots. He didn't know if they were actually Hasbro Transformers, but he just knew that he wanted to get robots for us. So let's just start in no particular order what I ended up getting, or what we ended up getting as kids, as brothers. So let's start off with this one. Kingdom, 3-in-1. This is Diaclone Diabattles. I don't know if this is the original version or the KO version. I'm not very knowledgeable in KOs and stuff like that, but all I know is that this is the exact one. And I didn't know he was called Diabattles until the reissue came out a few years ago, or actually 2 or 3 years ago. So all I knew is that I had Kingdom, and this was really fun because those missiles fired so far. That's the one thing I'll always remember about that. The missiles went really far. Another thing I always remembered is that the two pilots, they went into the legs and there was a lot of die-cast parts. So that was one of the things I had, and that was Kingdom. Next, we have Avalon Gazette, which is a helicopter that transforms into a robot, but he eventually became Autobot Whirl. So it's pretty interesting to see where he originally came from, and that was it right there. Next, I don't know very much about Orgus, but we ended up getting Orgus Ogroid. This is something, Orgroid. This is something my dad brought back for us. And this one has 3 modes, just like Robotech, or rather Macross. There was 3 modes. This one has a Gearwalk mode, and it had a defense mode and then a plane mode. So very, very cool. I never saw any of the cartoons for any of these, but I remember I ended up getting Orgus, and it was Orgus Orgroid. Don't know very much about it, and just from Takatoku Toys. Now we have the deluxe Insecticon Beat Godol. I forgot what he's called in the as a deluxe Insecticon Decepticon toy, but he was called Beat Godol, and he's basically a robot that transforms into a cockroach or beetle, one of those horned rhinoceros beetles. And this is also very, very cool from Takatoku Toys, yeah, very, very cool. Okay, this is awesome. This is the Takara Watch Robo. My brother had one, and I had one, and we both ended up getting the same color versions. It was the blue one, or dark blue one, that isn't pictured here, but it was I just remember it was blue, and we actually wore it to school. That's how much we loved it. And it's like, hey, what time is it? So very, very cool. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you guys who had that also wore that when you went to school, okay? Now, this is something that I don't actually have a picture of, and that was, I had this version of Kickback, the Insecticon Kickback, which I couldn't find a picture of it on the internet, but it kind of looked like this. Now, when I asked about it, Jer2097 brought to me this photo, and he said this is from the Taiwanese robot insect line, and the only photo that was available was this one, right? And I'm pretty sure that the Kickback one was part of this series, because what I did remember about Kickback, now this photo that I'm showing you right now is the eHobby reissue, but what it actually looked like is that, you know, the back Insecticon legs, which should have been yellow, it's actually red, and the body is green, and then you know where the chest piece that opens out, which is clear yellow in the Hasbro version, that was silver, like chrome silver. Now I can't find a photo of it, but that's what it looked like, and that's what I had. So I guess it was a knockoff. Now this is the one that I needed help on finding, and once again I thank Jer2097 and also Boops My Boops for identifying it. And that was, I had Baxinger. This is based off of a cartoon and a Japanese animation. I didn't know it was a Japanese animation, but I had Baxinger, and all I said was that, does anybody know what the name of a robot is? It's a Japanese robot from the 80s, and it had 4 motorcycles as arms and legs and a weird car as a body. And the one I had never disconnected. It was all one piece. And this is it right there. Baxinger. This is exactly what I had, and I remember the yellow box, and most importantly, I remember these missile launchers because I did fire them a lot. So this is it. I had this guy, and it's so nostalgic. Like, it really made me feel good to see it, like, see it exist again, or see a photo of it. Like, that's pretty awesome. Now I want to get to talking about some I guess Transformers that weren't actually Transformers that I ended up getting. This was also brought back to me from my dad, and that is Astro Magnum, the gray Shockwave. And this was something that was really, really cool because it was Shockwave, but it wasn't. You know, Shockwave's purple, I got the gray one. And this is something that, you know, it was really exciting for me because it was, like, I never had any Transformers at the time. When I got the toys from my dad, like, we didn't actually have any actual Hasbro Transformers. This is what we ended up getting instead. And what we also ended up getting instead is that my dad also bought my brother and I the Walther P38 Uncle. This exact same one. I remember it so clearly because if you look at the top of the box, there's a handle there. Okay? There's a handle there, and I totally remember that. And then we both had it. My brother had one, I had one, so my dad ended up buying both of the, 2 of them. So that was really, really awesome. I also had Cassette Man. And it's funny because, you know, I walked around the house wearing the headphones and wearing it as a Walkman, and it was pretty funny. And this toy had a lot of play value because Soundwave has always been my favorite Transformer, my favorite Decepticon at least. And this one had so much play value. I played with it a lot, kept on transforming them back and forth. I wore them, and this is so nostalgic to me. Finally, this is the last piece I want to talk about that was brought from me by my dad, and that was the Batroid Valkyrie VF1J from Takatoku Toys. Now, this one was my brother's, but there's a story behind it. It's not a happy story, but one thing that that my brother and I did when I went to elementary school was during recess time, there was always a group of kids that played with Transformers. They brought their Hasbro Transformers to school, and they played with them during recess, and then we joined in, and then we eventually became like I guess it was like a regular thing to just play with each other's toys during recess. And then one day, one of the kids asked me like, "Hey, can I borrow this? I'll let you play with Wheeljack." So I got to borrow his Wheeljack, and then he got my brother's VF1J, right? And my brother agreed to it, right? So we played with it, and then and then when I brought it home, my dad or my mom said, "Hey, what's this one? We didn't buy this one for you." And he said, "Oh, we just traded. He's gonna return the other one back to us, right?" And then our parents weren't too happy about it. Okay, they were said, "Okay, make sure you get it back." Okay, and then and then we said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll get it back." And then the guy came up to us, and then he says, "Hey, I need the Wheeljet back." So we gave it back, and he said, "Hey, I'll bring the VF1J back to you tomorrow or whatever." He never brought it back. I never saw the guy again. And oh man, we didn't know how to feel, but we explained it to our parents, and then like they were so disappointed in us. Like really, really disappointed. And like, you know, to this day, I still feel lots and lots of regret because that was a very, very beloved toy. So that was really, really unfortunate. Sad story, but you know, you're a kid, you learn from that. Okay, now I want to move on to some toys that weren't from my dad's trip to Hong Kong. These were more like gifts and things we picked up along the way that are not Transformers. Most of them were just gifts because during Christmas time, me and my brother kept on getting all these toys from my uncles and aunts, and it was really exciting time for us. So let's just move on to Robotech SDF-1. This was awesome. This belonged to my brother, and this was all die-cast, and he loved this toy so much because we both love Robotech, but I know he loved it more than I did. But yeah, this was awesome. Next, I do remember having this guy, Geeper Creeper. I remember it because I played with him in the Jeep mode a lot, and then I played with it so much that his wheels became really, really loose, and I'm pretty sure the back wheel came off, okay? Next, what belonged to my brother was another GoBot, and that was Trax. This orange, or Stax rather, Stax. The orange truck with a blue trailer, like an Ultra Magnus style trailer. So Stax Transport, that's something we had. It was, I guess it was a Voyager class, but he always made me feel funny because of the way his head looked, right? Next, finally, for my final bunch of non-transforming Transformers toys, Robotics Tyrannics. I loved Robotics, the cartoon. It was like a feature-length cartoon from Super Saturdays. Robotics was awesome. Of course, the toys looked nothing like the actual characters from the cartoon, but I was still happy to receive this guy as a gift. I really like the bad guys in the Robotics. I forgot what they're called, but this was really cool. It's kind of like a building toy, not so much like a robot toy. It was remote control, but I got a lot of play value out of it. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the actual Transformers that I got, okay? My brother and I got, and we're going to start off in no particular order. Constructicon Mixmaster and Constructicon Scavenger. Now, we got this when we went to Expo 86 in Vancouver. They were giving out Transformers for free. They were giving out Constructicons for free to elementary school kids. So that's how we ended up with those. We also ended up getting Warpath, Power Glide, and Sea Spray. I don't remember how we ended up getting these. Probably as gifts, or my parents bought it for us. But yeah, I mean, what other way would you have gotten them, right? So yeah, those were a lot of fun. I remember playing with Warpath a lot. He was really easy to transform along with Power Glide. Next, this is something that belonged to me. Blitzwing. Blitzwing I loved so much. He had so much play value, turning him back and forth from robot to jet to tank. And my brother ended up getting Astro Train. So that was really cool that we both got to get triple changers. My brother also ended up getting Dirge. that was very, very cool because we never ended up getting the main three Seekers like Starscream, Thundercracker, or Skywarp, but he did ended up getting Dirge, and the toys that he played with or that he owned, I got to play with. Finally, the last thing is Metroplex. Now, there's a story behind this. So, typically when it's me or my brother's birthday, my mom would take us to Woodward's, a department store that no longer exists, and then she would buy model kits for us. We bought a lot of model kits because they were cheap, and we got a lot of value out of it because we got to build it and put decals on, and it just got a lot of play value from it. But then my brother on that one birthday wanted Metroplex, and my mom wasn't too happy about that, but she caved in. She spent $50, and then we got Metroplex, and we were so excited to get it. All right, and that's the story behind Metroplex. This one was a lot of fun because we had already had Warpath, the Power Glide, and Sea Spray, even though they're not necessarily vehicles that would belong there, but it was, except for Warpath, but still we got so much play value out of that, and we transformed Metroplex so much. And there you have it. This is kind of a trip back to memory lane. These are the toys that I had. A lot of them obviously were not the real Transformers, or at least that's what the kids during recess called them. When I brought the Japanese versions that my dad brought, he says, "Hey, that's a fake Transformer. That's not a real Transformers." And it's funny because some of them weren't Transformers at all, and some of them were the original Diaclone Transformers. So looking back, it's kind of funny how the thought process was behind that. Everybody basically only knew Hasbro's Transformers. But anyways, that's all I got to say in this episode. I just wanted to take you guys back in time, and I'd like to invite you guys to make a video. And also, if you were from that era, talk about some of the toys that you had, and if you had any of these the Japanese robot toys, because there's so many different kinds that it's so hard to keep track of. But with the power of the internet and people's vast knowledge and their experiences with these toys, it's so easy to bring them all back. So that's all I gotta say in this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And then there you have it. As always, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.